What's going on, everybody? This is Scarfield Legend, and I wanted to make a video going over some of the more vague, I would say, skills, or maybe skills you don't know how they work. And I kind of want to go through all the gems and stuff that I had right now, and just go over, like, quickly what they do, right? Okay, so wind resistance. It says level 1. Slightly reduces the effects of minor wind pressure. So what that means when it says minor wind pressure, it means the class of monster, right? So something like a puke, that would be like minor wind pressure, right? And I think it goes up all the way up to, we'll say Rathian, and then so up to level 3, so negates minor wind pressure. Okay, so level 4, it says negates minor wind pressure and reduces the effects of major wind pressure. So major wind pressure would be like your Rathalos, those kinds of flying wyverns that are much higher, like Basil, something like that. They cause major wind pressure. And then it says negates minor and major wind pressure. What that means, it will not work on the oh my god, Kushala. That's not what that means. Okay, it's not gonna take away the effects of Kushala's wind pressure, because Kushala's wind pressure works in a different way. So that tornadoes and all that, it's not gonna work on that. That's like a completely different type of skill that you need for that. So, but everything else, anything that will kick up wind that has wings, it will get rid of it. So that's it. It's basically when they're like flapping their wings, and it causes your wind pressure and it stuns your hunter. That's what it gets rid of. Okay, so Footing Jewel. It says nullifies minor ground tremors, and those kinds of ground tremors will be from monsters doing like slam attacks, so minor monsters. And then nullifies minor ground tremors and reduces the effects of major ground tremors. So what this is going to help with would be like your Uragan and Diablos and the Black Diablos. They do minor and major ground tremors. Right, nullifies minor and major ground tremors. So this would be like your Uragan, your Xenojiva. If you don't want any tremors at all, like anything that shakes the ground, that's what you would use this for, right? I wouldn't, if personally I wouldn't put 3 into it, but like if you really feel like ground tremors are messing you up, you can go ahead and use it. Okay, weakness exploit. This is the one probably you'll see in like every single build. What weakness exploit does, it says when you're attacking hits that hit weak spots, you have a 15% increased affinity, then it levels up to 30, and then finally at 50. So every other hit gets increased affinity. So what affinity does, it gives you a multiplier on your base damage. So every weapon has different calculations for their damage output, and you'll get different base damage off of it. And a weak spot, all monsters have different weak spots, and if you're not sure where they are, you can look at your hunter's notes, monster field guide, and right here where it says physiology. So the weak points here for a great Jawgrass is the head, the chest. Kuluyaka would be the head. Puke is the wings and the head and the tail. So those kinds of things. So learn your weak points to take advantage. So if I'm fighting Tobikadachi and I aim for the middle, right, his torso, I'm not getting that increase. Right. Okay, KO Jewell. This is a Slugger. Okay, so it says stun power 10%, 20%, and 30%. What that means is weapons that have like a stun damage, that can produce stun damage, will get that effect. Okay, that doesn't mean a weapon that doesn't have stun damage will get more stun damage, right? They won't get stun damage, period, right? So something like a longsword, right? A longsword doesn't have any attacks that produce stun damage. So you putting Slugger into your longsword is going to do nothing but take up skill slots, right? But something like a hammer, right, that does have stun damage, almost many if not all of the hits of the hammer have a good amount of stun, so it benefits the hammer better, right? Or for example, if you want to go, crazy with it, you can change your mantle, right? You can change one of your mantles to the impact mantle. Let's see if I have it. The impact mantle, right? It says adds stun effect to most attacks or increases the potency of existing stun effect. Okay, so if you use an impact mantle, right, and you use a longsword or like dual blades, then a lot of your attacks are gonna get stun, right? So for that time, that skill I guess could work, but keep in mind it only works for 90 seconds. So if you want to use one skill for 90 seconds and take advantage of it with the skill, the armor skill, I mean, you can go ahead and do it, but I would not suggest it, but you can do it, and it will work. Okay, Jumpin Joe. Oh no, Flight Jewell. Okay, I just did a video about the Flight Jewell and explaining about how it works, and I went through all the weapons, not all of the weapons, but I went through weapons that are questionable if it would work or not. Okay, Evade Extender. Okay, so it's a slightly extended evasion distance. An evasion distance is your rolling distance, right, or your hopping distance with a lance. So Jumpin Joe might be something you might want or might not want. Okay, and then greatly extends evasion distance. This works pretty nice with the hammer because you don't really have any defensive options or like a greatsword. So you tend to roll, right, a lot when you're holding your weapon. So this increases your distance that you evade, but not the frames of which you're invulnerable. Okay, so that's a different skill. So don't get those too confused. So it just makes your distance that you roll longer. Okay, Slider Jewell. This increases affinity by 30% for a short time after sliding. So this is kind of interesting, and I have been messing around with this jewel. And what it does, you get a flat 30% no matter what when you slide, but it only works for about oh man, I want to say like 15 seconds. Right? I don't think it tells you how long it lasts. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's about probably about 15 seconds. Okay, Shield Jewell. Okay, it says guard up. Allows you to guard against ordinarily unblockable attacks. So what are some examples of unblockable attacks? Well, one of the more famous ones is Nergigante. right? It says you can guard against it. That means you need to have a weapon that can guard in the first place. So, sword and shield, charge blade, lance, all those things would benefit from this shield jewel. And there are a few unguardable attacks, like Xenojiva has one, Nergigante has one, who else has one? Valhazak has one. So that way you can guard against it. It doesn't mean you'll be immune from it though, so you still receive some damage to it, but you can actually put your shield up and guard instead of you putting your shield up and not being able to guard. That's how that works. Okay, Elementless Jewel. This is a very useful and famous jewel. It says it raises the base attack for non-elemental weapons, and the boost I want to say is 30% or 10%. It might be 10% base damage. I can't remember. Let me try to show it different. Usually put in something like a Diablos weapon, right? That's usually what you're going to use. Right, so here's my Elementless Jewel. Let's take it off. And it's at 1196 right there. And now it's at 1394. So I believe it's like a 25%, I want to say. Okay, so then you have your, I think these, I mean, they don't really need explanations. Reduces duration, so this takes away poison, this takes away paralysis, this prevents sleep, this one's for stun, this one's for blast. So these are just like status ailments. Bleeding, defense down. Okay, this one, there's only a few monsters that give you a defense down. One of them is the bugs. They can give you a defense down. Okay. And then what you need to get rid of it is a nullberry. And another monster that's famous for doing defense down is Devil Joe. When he attacks you with his mouth, he has like this saliva that gives you defense down. And that's actually, your defense goes down quite a bit when that happens, so it behooves you to, if you're not going to pay attention to when he's hitting you, to use this one, the defense lock, because that'll prevent your defense from going down. Or if you look at it, there's like a little, it looks like a shield with like, but the inside is colored red. That's what defense down is. Okay, attack boost. This is probably the other one that people talk about the most, and I'll just give my quick opinions on it. Attack level 4 is where it gets interesting, because at level 4 you get 5% affinity. So that 5% affinity, that's a 5% chance for you dealing a critical hit, no matter where you hit the monster, right? It doesn't have to be the head. So that opens up a lot of weapons to get that critical hit. And getting a critical hit, depending on your sharpness, can be quite valuable. Like when you get into white sharpness, and mixing it with critical hits, because you'll get an attack boost from your sharpness. That attack boost on top of the affinity, when you're calculating and when it's really high, when you're dealing with really high numbers, you want more percent than you want flat attack. right? Because a 5% boost can be more than a plus 10 attack, right? So when you get into really high numbers in calculating like damage per second and stuff like that, at a certain point, percent is going to take over flat attack boost. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So what I usually try to run is like attack level 4 and then go to crit after that. So I'm critting more often, right? Because that's better than me just having flat attack. Okay, Recovery Jewell. Okay, Recovery Jewell, it increases the healing of recoverable damage, so that's the red portion of the health gauge. So when you get hit by a monster, you'll have that big red portion, and instead of chugging a potion to fill it up, this will, at level 3 it's really quite noticeable at the rate that it goes. At level 1 and 2 it's not that noticeable, but it does work, right? If you can not get hit so much, it does work, and it really pairs well with something like a Valhazak skill, which lets you recover more than the red health gauge, but it does not quadruple that speed. It quadruples the speed of the red part, so you get your red part filled up right away, right? And then you slowly get the part that's empty back, right? All you're really trying to do is recover the red health fast, and then just so you can start getting that extra part back. So fire resistance. So with the elemental resistances, these are kind of interesting too, because at level 3 they give you defense plus 10, which is like a nice little bonus, right? So if you're specifically building against one monster and you want that extra defense, you can consider it, and in the past it's helped me before, so that's pretty nice too. So you got okay, you know what, and let me talk about how resistances work. Okay, so fire resistance, if I have 7 fire resistance, that's not going to do anything. Okay, see how the thunder is at 11 and it's yellow? That means it's activated. The first level is activated. So if I do have slight thunder resistance. All of my other resistances, the others 7, 8, 4, and 5, they do nothing. Okay, that means I have no resistance, right? It's not negative, but I don't have any resistance. So when I start adding stuff, right, at the Fire Jewell, okay, here at 13, that's when I get the first level. Okay, so that's gonna prevent some fire from some fire damage to me. And then the next one would be at 15, and then the one after that would be at 20. Okay, so at 20 I have more fire resistance, and it's harder for me to catch on fire, right? I believe at 25 you stop getting caught on fire, and your fire resistance is pretty decent. I want to say I forget how high it goes, but I know it's ridiculous. I think like at 50 or something, the fire damage is like almost completely gone. I can't remember. I don't think I've been able to test it that high, or remember testing it that high, but I've tested it enough with something like Blast, where it just, not Blast, I think it was Thunder for Kieran, to where I wasn't getting any blights on me, and it was really nice. And this resistances, the fire resistance and all that stuff, it stacks with your mantles. So for example, the fire mantle. Right, it says reduces fire damage, nullifies fire blight and blast blight, and prevents damage from hot environments. So that reduces fire damage, that stacks on with whatever elemental resistance you have. Okay. So it does help. I have done fire builds where I fight against Teostra and I have my fireproof mantle and I have fire resistance, and then I eat for elemental, and that the supernova, it becomes more and more negligible the higher my fire resistance is. So that's something to take into account. So that's how resistances work, the elemental resistance. So it's the same for water, ice, thunder, and dragon. Okay, resistor jewel. So it says blight resistance. So elemental blights. There's a couple of elemental blights. You have your ice blight, which reduces your stamina. You have water blight, which does the same thing. But ice blight does it a little, it's like worse. Ice is like worse than water. Fire blight, which causes damage over time. You have thunder blight, which makes it easier for you to get stunned. And you have dragon blight, which takes away your affinity, right? And it gives you like negative. Sometimes it gives you, I think it gives you negative affinity. Okay, so the blight resistance will take it away. Also, yeah, no, like that. Nullifies all elemental blights. That's what that's for. Okay, so Blaze Jewel. So these are elemental attacks, right? So you get how these work. I guess I should go into a little more detail. So let's put on an elemental weapon. Okay, there I have 300 thunder, right? Okay, so right, it says fire attack 30. If I have a thunder weapon, this fire attack is not going to do anything for me. Okay, it's not going to give me additional fire attack. So it's the same like the KO jewel. You can't give it to a weapon that doesn't already have it. Okay, so I already have thunder, right? So how's that going to work? Right, so there are caps to elemental damage, alright, period. Even if you go to that %, there is still a cap. Okay, so far I haven't found a weapon that takes advantage of that 10%, 5% plus 100 elemental damage, because it caps. And I have leveled up a weapon that goes all the way and uses the thunder attack skill level 5. Made no difference. Okay, I tested it out and made no difference. So so you find your cap, right? So where's the cap? Here, let's try it out. So let me show you, right? Because well, I don't think it shows the, we got 50 to 180. Alright, I already put that bolt jewel. So let's take it off. Was that like a slight increase, or is that from my sharpness? I think it was just like a slight increase. Could be maxed out already. Okay, so there I have 360. I'm pretty sure I have more bolt jewels, yeah. I think that's as many bolt jewels as I have. I have 4 of them. So there it says 390, right? So I didn't get that, that means I capped out. See how it's orange? It means I capped out somewhere. Alright, so I need to show the damage. Yeah, it's still in the 50s. Yeah, because this thing, it doesn't show element. It doesn't show your elemental damage. It's like hidden. But I know for a fact because I did test it on monsters, right? I guess I can show that later. But when you cap out, right? So I capped out at 90, 390. So to here in the first one I got 30, and the other one I got 60. So right here at level 3, I got 100, right? So it didn't go to 400. It stopped at 390. So this one, the fourth one, did nothing. So even with this fourth one gone, it's still at 390. So that means I did cap out, and I'm unnecessarily putting in decorations, because it does cap. That bonus whatever, it doesn't do anything. I went online and I checked it, and I tested it on monsters myself, and when you have like 5, it doesn't do anything for you, because on the monsters you can see the difference in damage numbers. Okay, so then you have your status, right? So Venom Jewel, poison buildup 20%. This increases how fast you can poison, right? But keep in mind that when you're using stuff like poison, exhaustion, what else? Sleep, the monster gets used to it, and there is like a cap to it, right? There's no cap as in like it won't happen ever again, but it'll take more hits to make it happen, right? So if you want to like just poison right away and do like a poison build like that, that's okay. That's a good way to do it. But I haven't messed around with any poison weapons that have really been amazing. They work like on Kushala, but like in general, it's not that amazing. There's like better things you can do. Probably the best skill to have for it is blast, because monsters don't get used to blast. You can like just keep using blast on monsters and it'll take the same amount of hits every time. So if there's any status I would say is the best, it would be blast or sleep, because you can do sleep bombing and stuff like that. But you can only sleep like certain monsters by the because eventually you just kill the monster, right? Because you hit it so many times. Like you can maybe sleep like something like Kieran maybe twice, maybe 3 times. But yeah, that's like 3 times, and then to get the bombing, and I mean, it's okay. It's a tactic. It's a tactic to use. When it comes to stuff that has stun, right, I prefer using exhaust if I can fit it in, because what exhaust does, it makes the monster stop moving, right, and they'll stop moving for a while, and they run out of their energy faster, so that helps me, right, because as a hammer user, if the monster stops moving, right, because I'm hitting it in the face, it just gives me more opportunity to keep hitting it in the face. Okay, Fortitude. This is pretty decent at very like lower rank. And when you're getting into high rank, if you have a slot and you have like a bunch of these like I do, and you get KO'd a lot, and that usually does happen when you're moving from low rank to high rank, it's a pretty decent boost, right? That attack 10% and 50% is pretty decent, and it does stack, right? So you can get some pretty good numbers from like some crummy armor. And I did a lot of my cosplay sets when I was leveling them up, I would throw this in there, and obviously I wouldn't get like purposefully KO'd. Like once at a certain point, right, you don't need this anymore. But when you are transferring, so for a while, this skill is decent to have. So, but you like grow out of it. So this is, I wouldn't say this is like a skill you should always put in, but I mean, this is obviously not going to win you any speed runs or anything like that. But if you do find yourself getting carded like every once in a while from a certain monster, you might want to think about putting this in there if you know you're going to get knocked out. Okay, so Sonorous Jewel. This is like the best jewel for hunting horn, period. Like extending that duration of your songs really helps. It helps like so much. Okay, heavy artillery. This increases the firepower of ballista and cannons. This skill is only slightly useful, I guess, against Zora Magdaros. And the difference in the damage numbers, I went from a solo doing it from 15 minutes to like 13 minutes, right? So if you want those extra 2 minutes, I mean, I guess. Hungerless Jewel. Okay, so extends the time until your stamina cap decreases, right? So what that means, so your stamina cap will decrease over time, right? So as you're just hunting to your yellow stamina bar, it'll go down, like it'll like actually like lower, right? Eventually it'll lower like almost all the way down. I think if you get it low enough, you get carded. So it just prevents that from going down. So you can just do a whole mission. It doesn't mean that the draining part will go down, right? So like you see how I'm running, see how it drains? It does not mean that. That's not what it means, okay? It means like, because when you do a hunt, that bar will eventually get shorter, right? Not like drain, like the bar will actually get shorter. Prevents that. Where was I? Sheath. Okay. Sheath speeds up weapon sheathing. This might be useful to some weapons, but not usually. What this does, it just makes it faster to put away your weapon, right? Something like a great sword maybe can help you out a little bit here and there. But most weapons, if you're trying to dodge something it's more than likely it's probably better to just leave your weapon out and do a roll. Try to time your roll than it is to put your weapon away and then do an emergency dive. So it's either way, it can be useful, but overall there's probably better ways you should be dodging and positioning. But that's what it does. Okay, Friendship Jewel. So this is just like a support skill. So it says items affect nearby allies with 33% of their efficacy. So that means if you're doing like a mushroom answer, or you're drinking a potion, even if you're drinking a potion, they get 33% of whatever you got. Right. So it says in the next level it's just a wider range, and then level 3 it's 66%, level 4 it's 66% with the wider range, and then level 5 is the much wider range with the full efficacy of whatever it is. So people like to do like friendship level 5 and then run like mushroom answer, so you can just like buff everybody. Everybody gets like really good buffs, and then like every time you heal, and then like if you're also a hunting horn user and you do that, like you're just like buffing everything, like buffs on top of buffs, and like you're just healing everybody, and it becomes a really cool build if you just like a healing master, buff master, something like that. People appreciate it. Alright, Enduring Jewel. Okay, extends the duration of some item effects. This is garbage. Honestly, I'm not gonna be, I can't sugarcoat this one. This one's lame. A lot of item effects, they don't last that long in the first place. So you wasting 3 slots to get 50% is junk. Just don't use it. It's not good. Satiated Jewel. It gives you a predetermined chance of consuming a food or drink item for free. When I use my like mushroom answer build, I like to throw this one in there because I'm eating like 5 mushrooms at a time, and getting that 1 in 4 chance of getting a free meal, it reduces the amount that I consume. So that's pretty cool. So Cobbler Jewell. Hey Rhino. So the Cobbler Jewell, it increases your item use speed. So when you drink a potion, that time that you're drinking the potion, it gets reduced. Or if you're eating like a mushroom or you're eating a meat, the item you eat it faster. It can be useful sometimes, but I would say more often than not, it's not that useful. Maybe early on in the game, if you have a bunch of these and you're thinking about putting it in there, it is good at the high, at the level 3. Watch, I can show you actually. Because this is my Mushroom Mancer build. Right, so I have wide range, speed eating, Mushroom Mancer, and the free meal, right? So these are the skills I was just covering right now, except Mushroom Answer. I haven't gone over that one yet. So let me show you how fast you can drink that potion. Look at this. It was like instantly. Do you see how fast that was? That was like ridiculously fast. Like, so you just like get an instant heal. So like your ration, boom, done. Right, so when you eat stuff like adamant seed, all these seeds, you eat them super fast. Well, not the vitality mantle. But yeah, like max potion, it's like super fast. That's what that does, right? And then all that extra thing, that's my wide range. Like you can buff even your cat, right? So see, he gets the, when you hear that sound, that bwah, that means you buff somebody else. That's what that means. And the reason I have that mushroom answer is because all those buffs, they carry on if you switch armor. Right, so all that, I'm buffed up right now. Right, I have more defense, more attack. I heal damage faster, like all kinds of stuff. Okay, I was here. Okay. Grinder Jewel. Okay, this one's pretty simple. It makes it faster for you to grind. Removing 3 cycles means you only grind once. Yes, right now I'm making a video. That's fine. You can talk to me. I'm gonna be cutting this up because there's a lot of information I was covering. Bomber Jewel. Okay. Increases the damage of explosive items, right? So what are explosive items? They are bombs, and I'm pretty sure that's it. It's just the bombs. It's not like arrows or cluster bombs or anything that has to do with a weapon. It is not, right? So only explosives, right? So bombs. Only bombs. Right, so like your large barrel bomb. Hey baby. What are you doing, baby? Hmm? Yeah? Get your chair. Get your chair. Get your chair. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah. You can disturb me right now. You want some cookies? Hmm? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Protection Jewel. It says, has a predetermined chance of reducing the damage that you take. So, it goes by 15%, 30%, 50%. Okay, the time that it activates is, there's no real, like, chance that you can calculate that it activates at, but the damage is noticeable, especially at 50%. Reducing a damage by 50% can like really save your life. And I guess like when you get like knocked over, it like almost makes that damage like negligible, right? So Protection Jewel can really save you when it does activate. So I have used it, and I use it really with a lot of my defensive builds. So it's a pretty decent skill to have. Alright, Meowster Jewel. Meowster Jewel, it all it does is increase the Palico attack power. Right, so attack power and defense. That's it. So if you're running like a super cat build, so where you want all your cat to be like super strong, which I have done that. It's kind of interesting. You can't really influence what your cat does. Kind of, like if you attack a monster, it will focus on that monster. But that's kind of about it, but it does work. So, But it's not, I wouldn't, it's just for fun. I would say the skill is just for fun. It's not for being competitive or anything like that. Okay, Botanist Jewel. What this does, it increases what you gather. Alright, so one extra at level 4 is one extra herb, fruit, nut, seed, insect, or mushroom per gather, which is okay, but it's not that. I would say it's not that worth it, because you're not really. In this game, I'm never even hurt. I'm never hurting for any nuts or seeds or anything like that. But it does work. Because you get to farm stuff, so that's why I don't really see the point of this one. Okay, Geology Jewel. This one is different though. This one, I would say there is a point to it. Okay, so it allows you to gather one extra time from bone piles, gathering points, and mining outcrops. That mining outcrops, that makes so much of a difference. Because you do get to a point in the game to where you're trying to mine stuff and gather from bone piles, right? And having this, when you're just farming that stuff, the Geology Jewel, it helps so much. And I would recommend it when you get to like the Elder Recess. This is definitely worth it. Just for gathering though. Okay, Stone Thrower Jewel. So this one's one in the not worth it category. So it says it increases the loading capacity for all slinger ammo dropped by monsters. This is, I mean, it's really not worth your time. Okay, Tiptoe Jewel. Okay, makes it easier for monsters to lose sight of you. At an early rank, this might be okay if you're working in a party. If you're working in a party. And you're like a bow or a heavy bow gun or something like that, and you don't want the monster to look at you, right? So that's pretty much what you use it for. Spore Puff Jewel. This one, the Spore Puffs. So this is like kind of area specific. So it's, yeah, it does work though. But there's way better skills to have than that. Okay, so Meyer Walker Jewel. So this makes it easier for you to go into water. And once you have the water mantle, this really eliminates the need for this. And you very rarely are going to be walking through water. Except when you're fighting like Geratidos. What else fights in water? I guess Baroth, right? So that's what you use that for. It's not really that great of a skill. Specimen Jewel. Okay, this is another one that's like the Geology Jewel. Okay, so it decreases the chance of destroying the bodies of small insects, monsters, allowing them to be carved. Yeah. So when you are farming bugs, right? This is the skill to have to farm bugs, because you don't want their corpses to be destroyed. So this means you just put 3 of these on there, farm those bugs, get all the, you know, wings or whatever that you're looking for, and you know, it's easy peasy. There are other ways that you can farm bugs where you don't need this specific skill, and you can do that too, right? That's perfectly fine. I know some ways of how to do it, but if you just want to run in there with your weapon and, you know, just slash stuff up, and then don't have to worry about killing the bugs' body, this one will work for you. Okay, Scent Jewel. It says increases your scout fly's gauge fill rate when you find tracks and other traces left by monsters. This is kind of okay when you're trying to fill up your uh, at the beginning of the game. I think that's about it, because later it doesn't really matter about your gauge. Okay, Intimidator Jewell. This one's kind of useless. Yeah. Small monsters don't really matter. Crisis Jewell. Okay, so when while active, greatly improves evasion vulnerability time and reduces stamina depletion. This is a very specific skill, and the only reason you would want to know what it does is because in the arena they like to give you crazy skills, right? And you have to figure out how to use them. So what this works with, right, the way that you make this work is for, say, for example, you're poisoned, right? You're poisoned by a monster. The poison is affecting you, but you have a vitality mantle, right? And the vitality mantle prevents you from losing a certain amount of health, right? So while you're poisoned, or have like something like fire, right? You're burning. You get burnt or poison, then you put on the crisis. Your vitality mantle. Then the crisis jewel will activate. So at that time, if you have a weapon that depletes stamina, or you want to roll, right, dodge roll, you can do that. That's what it's for. Okay, maintenance jewel. Very straightforward. Shortens the time that you can use your mantles. Right, specialized tools. That's mantles, those are boosters. What, baby? ¿Qué pasó? Are you okay? There's cookies in there, yeah. Put that one in there. Okay, Miasma Jewel. This is specific to one monster, and it's actually, I would say it's worth it to use it. It says prevents effluvial buildup, right? This is not the same as the effluvial resistance, right? Oh my god, I can't remember what's the other one. But the one that has 3 levels, right? That's the one that's for Valhazak. Right? The other one is just like 1 level. That's the one for just to be in the Rotten Vale. Just the bottom part of the Rotten Vale where it's all cloudy, and then you get that damage on you. The Miasma one is different. This specifically is for Valhazak, right? Like only Valhazak. So when you prevent effluvial buildup, then you'll never get that debuff that it gives you that reduces your health. You won't get it. Yeah. Okay, Critical Jewel. It says increases damage dealt by critical hits to 30%. Okay, so this one does need some explaining. What that means is that it increases the amount that you crit. It gives it a 30%. So that, like, let's say you crit at 100%, right? This does 30% of that 100%, right? So instead of, for example, critting at, I think you crit at 1.25, and increases it by 30%. So 30% of 1.25, that's the amount it increases, right? So it's a very, how people see it is if a crit damages at, no baby, don't do that baby, don't do that, don't do that. Okay, so if a crit increases, if a crit is at 100, people say if you do the crit boost, it changes it to 130, right? Which is kind of okay. But if it goes to 40%, then it does increase, if it's at 100, to 140. Don't do that, baby. Don't do that. No. Pick it up. Pick that up. Hey. Right there. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. Yeah, pick that up. Yeah. Pick it up. Okay. Sprinter Jewell. Okay, what it does when you're running, or it's stamina depletion, right? Such as dashing, and it does also affect weapons that hold their stamina, like for example a hammer, right? So when you're doing the Sprinter Jewell, it will reduce the time that it goes down. So there. So it's a little slower. And it also affects dual bleeds as well. Yeah. Where was I? Goodness. I have no idea where I was. I was at the Sprinter Jewell. Where is it? Sharp Jewell, Limitless Jewell. Anyways, well, what haven't I covered? Covered attack. Defense I did not cover. Okay, so defense is similar to attack in a sense that you get that all resistances plus 3 at level 4. So that might, but unlike attack, you get better boosts as it goes. So it goes 5, 10, 15, 20. So each is by 5, right? I think attack is like by 3. So you get more defense. And defense, unlike attack, does not care about your weapon, right? Unless it's a defensive weapon that gives you a defense boost as well. So that flat defense will work no matter what, right? It doesn't care about your armor. It doesn't care about like anything, right? It's flat. Attack does. Attack cares about your weapon, and it cares about how your weapon scales with attack. Defense doesn't matter. Defense is a very useful skill, especially when you have all the elemental resistances. And when you have a high defensive, high vitality build, you can see the difference. It really does make a difference. Okay, vitality. Okay, what vitality does, it increases your health bar. This does stack with food skills. right? So if you get food that increases your vitality, it'll go even higher, but it does not stack with something like a max potion. So a max potion will give you your gauge. It'll increase your health gauge, right? But it will not stack with this vitality. Okay, one over resistances. Expert Jewel. Okay, so this is like the cousin of the attack jewel. Right, so the Expert Jewel, as it goes up, it gives you more affinity. Right, so that's the chance to crit. What the Expert Jewel, if you have, I think they tested it when I was researching, a max affinity with a equal. Hey, stop doing that, baby. Stop. That's enough. No more. Go pick those up. Pick it up. So, did like a max affinity build, and it's it came out slightly better than the max flat attack build. Okay, so when you're going between attack and affinity, it's good to have a mix of both, and that's how you get the best out of it. Unless your skill has to deal with affinity, like if you need 100% affinity, like for example Teostra's what is it called? Master's Touch. Getting that 100% affinity to keep that Master's Touch is worth it. Okay, we went over Drain, Fortitude, Gobbler, Protection, Mouse, Miasma, yep, Earplugs. Okay, so earplugs, this is also monster stuff. So when it's a little monster, those are the weak monster roars. And when you get up to level 4, those are larger monsters. So weak monsters go up to Rathian, I believe. And large monsters would be stuff like Uragan, Rathalos, Devil Joe. Those are large monsters. And at level 5, it'll be just all the monster roars. They can just roar all day at you and you won't care. Okay, Poison Coat. What Poison Coat does is with your bow, it allows you to apply poison coatings, right? So with your bow, there's like a spot where you're adding your coatings, your little vials, and then this lets you, if it couldn't before, put a poison vial, right? Brace Jewel prevents knockbacks. The only thing I found this useful for is when you're in a party and somebody's using a weapon that causes tripping, like a longsword. If you put one of these where it says prevents knockbacks, level 1, you will not get tripped by the longsword anymore. With monsters, don't use this against monsters because it really doesn't matter. Because monsters have attacks that do knock you back and trip you, but they also have attacks that just send you flying, and those attacks are completely different, and this Brace Jewel will not, it doesn't care about that. It only cares about the ones that trip you and knock you back. But if you get comboed, right, like if it's like 3 hits, and the first hit like tripped you, and then the next 2 like send you flying, you're gonna get sent flying anyway. Okay, so Spread, Power Shots Jewel. So this increases the attack power of spread ammo and power shot arrows. So this is probably one people are looking for too, for bows. And those are all the ones that I have for decorations. I'll make another video, a separate video, in regards to armor specific skills, and things like that, and tell you how those work. Hopefully you found this a good source of knowledge. If you have any questions, obviously I didn't go over all of the jewels because I don't have all of the jewels, but this is a good basis, right, of how stuff works. And I did cover ones that people that do have questions about and they're not sure about. Okay. Thanks for watching.